Okay, what do people of other religions need to know about Islam for us to understand Islam and the ideology? What do Jews need to know? What do Christians need to know? What do people of other faiths need to know about an Islamic believer? I think this is very important. We need to be informed. Why would someone need religion anyway? Have you ever asked that question? Why religion? Why have a system of beliefs? What's that about? What does religion do for a human being on the earth? Regardless of what the religion is, what does the religion do for a person? Well, the first thing a religion does is it satisfies an innate desire to worship. There isn't a people group anywhere in civilization, in antiquity, that doesn't worship something. Even on some obscure Pacific island, some undiscovered people group, should you go there tomorrow afternoon and discover them for the first time, I guarantee you they're worshiping something. Be it a tree, an animal, a star, a moon, something. They're worshiping. There is an innate desire in human beings, created in the image of God, Genesis 1:26, to worship. Religion satisfies that need. So to the Muslim, I would say, I understand. I would say you have an innate desire to worship. I get that. I do too. And so does everyone else. Now, here's the thing. Just because you have an innate desire to worship doesn't mean you won't be an atheist. The fact of the matter is that innate desire to worship is going to cause you to worship something else other than a deity. Be it yourself, your own philosophy, money, status, greed, power. Everyone is worshiping something. Okay? The angst that we feel when we deny a worship of a deity in the context of a religion is what causes us deep frustration, even violence in the world today. We need religion as human beings, and I can understand this about Islam because we have an innate desire to worship. We have, as human beings, a need for purpose. Religion affords us that purpose. Let's not even talk about what the religion is. The religion affords you someone to worship or something to worship and a purpose, a mission. It affords you an identity. Religion affords you an identity. Religion affords you and meets the need that you have. Every single human being on the face of the earth has a desire for righteousness. What does that mean? We have a desire to be right with God. And we know when we're not, and we know the frustration, the anxiety, the neurosis, the fear, the trepidation that exists when we're not feeling that way. Religion gives you a vehicle towards that freedom of feeling like, if I fulfill what they tell me to do, if I do this, or I do it this way, or I don't do this, there's some chance I'm going to have some sort of rightness with something beyond myself. That's what religion affords you. So I understand that about Islam as well. I understand it about Judaism, and I understand it about Christianity. Religion affords you an explanation of how to deal with creation. There isn't anyone that's walked outdoors and can fog up a mirror and is alive today that can in their heart of hearts say, no human being did this. Romans 1:20 in the scripture says that God's invisible qualities are demonstrated through creation. Creation is the default. It's so that no man is without excuse. So I understand Islam, a need for righteousness, a need for liberation, a need for purpose, a need for innate desire to worship, and a need to understand creation. I understand Islam. I understand the need for a religion. And I think when you're speaking with someone who's a Muslim, we need to meet on that common ground and says, yeah, I get it. I know what you're doing because I'm doing the same thing. We have that in common. And we have some other things in common too, I might add. Think about Islam that is different than the other religions is this. And herein lies the crux. Allah is transcendent. Allah cannot be known. And the will of Allah cannot be known. When the Syrians engaged in the 6-day war with Israel and were defeated, they weren't defeated in their own minds because it was the will of Allah. You cannot lose a war and be Islamic because at the end of the day, it is the will of Allah. If I make a dental appointment with you tomorrow in downtown Mecca, and I don't show up at 2:30 like I said I was, it's not my fault. It was the will of Allah. When the Americans went under George Bush Sr. as President of the United States, when they went and liberated Kuwait, and the Islamic regime was defeated, and President Bush Sr. later left office, that was a victory because he didn't remain in office. That was the will of Allah. So this is the mentality in which we understand Islam. And you and I are called to have gentleness and respect, to be ready to give an answer to these matters of faith with someone who opposes us in ideology and theology. So I'm deeply encouraging you to understand common ground before we understand differences, because you and I are called to stand on common ground and make it holy ground. This country is taking the bait. It's dangling the bait right in front of us, and we're taking it. We are making in the flesh comments about a world religion that needs Christ more than anything in the world. And we're our own flesh, our own ignorance, and our own lack of sensitivity to the Spirit of God, we're alienating a lost group of people from ourselves for an absence of understanding what it is they want, what they're looking for. And they're just no different than us. If you grew up in a household and you were born a Muslim, if you grew up in a household and you were born a Muslim, you've never seen or heard anything different. And the only understanding you have of Christianity is an exported television show that is full of immorality. One would gather, because you live in an Islamic nation, that the nation over here we call the United States of America is immoral. And I don't fault you for drawing that conclusion. Anyway, this is some things that the Jew and the Christian and the rest of the world needs to understand about Islam. No different than us. They want to worship, they want to feel right with God, they want to feel liberated, they want a purpose, and they want to reconcile this gnawing question that aches in the belly of every one of us. What is this nature thing? Why are we sitting on an earth spinning at 67,000 miles per hour in a circle, 1,000 miles per hour in a galaxy, 500,000 miles per hour, and we're floating in midair doing it? Someone better answer the question, how did that come about? Because it wasn't me. This is how we understand Islam, and this is how we find common ground to approach somebody with both gentleness and respect.